What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Now, today's video is slightly different than usual. If you're like me and you often find yourself at 4 a.m. down the YouTube rabbit hole watching random videos about unsolved mysteries on YouTube, then you're gonna love this one, that's for sure. Don't get me wrong, whilst unsolved mysteries and murder cases that we don't know the answers to are very interesting to try and work out what might have happened, what about the solved cases? What about the cases that were mysteries but have since been solved and are truly amazing? Well, in today's video, we're going to be finding out the internet's best answers to the question, what are some crazy mysteries that were finally solved? The French guy who claimed to be a missing boy in the 90s, he even lived with the crazy mother. Nicholas Barkley, aged 13 at the time he went missing, was last seen playing basketball with his friends in his hometown of San Antonio, Texas, on the 13th of June 1994. Barkley never made it home and has not been seen or heard from since. In 1997, Frenchman Frédéric Bourdin took Barkley's identity and was flown to the United States. Although Bourdin had brown eyes and a French accent, he convinced the family he was their blue-eyed son, saying he'd escaped from a child prostitution ring and the ring had altered his eye color. Bourdin lived with the family for almost 5 months until the 6th of March 1998. The craziest part is they recently found out the brother was the murderer and murdered Barkley with the permission of his mother, and the only reason the French guy got away with it is because the family didn't want to reveal that they knew who killed Barkley. I mean, guys, as you know, normally I talk about entitled parents on this channel. Never anyone as crazy as this, though. This mother allowed her son to kill another one of her sons, his brother, and then just accepted in some weird imposter from France because it, covered up the entire story. What the heck? That is a crazy solved murder. The death of Azaria Chamberlain. She was a 2-month-old girl who disappeared while camping with her parents near Uluru. Prosecutors successfully tried her mother for murder and father as an accessory. During the entire ordeal, it was insisted by her mother that Azaria was taken by dingoes, native wild dogs in Australia. This was disregarded, as before this, there were no records of dingoes showing any hostility towards humans, or causing any attacks or fatalities nearby. Several years later though, an unrelated search not far from the campground found a child's coat of the exact brand and description Azaria's mother gave to the police in an area littered with dingo dens. The parents' conviction was overturned and the case was established that in reality, she had been taken from her parents' tent during the night, killed and eaten by dingoes. Looking a little bit further into this one, guys, it was 6 years after the death of her child that Azaria's mum was actually set free. Not only did she have to deal with the death of her child, but also being wrongfully convicted for 6 years. In 1981, a Soviet submarine ran aground in Swedish waters. This was a huge deal. Although the Soviets claimed the sub was in distress and didn't purposefully enter Swedish waters, basically everyone in Sweden saw it as evidence that their waters were being invaded by spy subs. Plus, they did some snooping of their own and determined that the sub was emitting radiation, meaning it had nukes on board. So they went along with the Soviets' clearly false claim about an accident and helped get the sub out of there, but panic was in the air. So the Swedes did exactly what you'd expect, and they prepared for more Soviet subs. I mean, when you see one Soviet sub, surely there are going to be more, right? So Sweden developed advanced acoustic technology to detect subs, and they created a plan to basically seal off their waters when they heard a sub. And wouldn't you know it, a year later, they found a Soviet sub. Well, they didn't find it, but they absolutely heard it. And they cut off the bay and figured they just had to hunt the sub down. But after a month, they couldn't find it. They gave up and reopened the bay, but they assumed the sub had found a way out. But they'll get it next time. And then it happened again, but they couldn't find it again. And then again and again, with no clear pattern for a decade. What was going on? Thankfully, the Berlin Wall fell and the Soviet Union collapsed. So no more subs, right? Well, no, because the Russian subs were still coming? Wait, what? Okay, so now nothing is making sense. At this point, the Swedish military brought in outside experts to figure out what was happening. This included oceanographer types, who were obvious experts in the surrounding waters. The military then played the audio evidence of the Soviet submarines, only to be told they weren't submarines at all, they were fish. and the propeller-like sound was water being released from their swim bladders. And that's the story of how the Swedish military spent 10 years and tens of millions of dollars chasing fish farts. Oh my god, that is incredible. In the 1970s, a number of Japanese citizens disappeared from coastal areas in Japan. After many years, it was found out that North Korea had abducted them. Most of the missing were in their 20s. The youngest, Megumi Yokota, was 13 when she disappeared in November 1977 from the Japanese west coast city of Niigata. Oh my word. The Solway Spaceman. In 1964, Jim Templeton, a fireman from the English city of Carlisle, was spending an afternoon out with his family when he snapped a photograph of his young daughter without much thought. But when he got home and had the film developed, he noticed what has now become known as the Solway Spaceman. The photo shows what many people say is a person in some form of spacesuit. Kodak even analysed the photo, and their experts said it was authentic, leading to the spaceman theory. Alright, so here's the photo, and as you can see, behind the girl, yeah, it looks like a spaceman, I'm not gonna lie. You've got like the visor from the helmet, the white suit. Very, very strange. I mean, he's literally right there. I don't really know what's going on. The spaceman was his wife with her back to the camera. He was only able to see 70% of the frame and didn't realize his wife was in the background of the picture. And it took that long for his wife to realize, oh, by the way, yeah, that's me. I was wearing a white dress that day. Come on, say something sooner and stop all this. In 1947, a British South American Airways aircraft named Stardust disappeared. Its last message was simply Stendek. After an exhausting search, no trace of the aircraft was found. For years, conspiracy theories and talk of alien abduction by wackos circulated. Until 1998, when mountain climbers on a remote mountain found an engine, pieces of metal, and clothing at the bottom of a glacier on the side of Mount Tupungato. It turns out the aircraft got caught flying the wrong way in the jet stream while it was flying at night, and using a system of timing when to start their descent. Being in the jet stream reduced their airspeed in relation to the Earth, and they smacked themselves straight into the side of a mountain, after which an avalanche covered the wreckage. The wreckage took decades to flow down the side of the mountain with the glaciers. The glaciers preserved the wreck so well that 50 years later, the recovery team found identifiable remains, personal items, and could read serial numbers on the engines. Amazingly, one of the landing gear tires was still inflated, and that team has continued to visit the site periodically as more of the aircraft, cargo, and remains of passengers are still emerging from the ice. I don't know if that's unbelievable or really creepy. As the ice melts, I guess we see more and more of a past wreckage. Crazy stuff. I want to know though, what does Stendek stand for? We never found out. Mary Toft. I mean, really, what the F? Here's the TLDR of the whole story. A woman started to give birth to copious amounts of rabbit parts. She was taken to London and studied under intense supervision, and it turns out, guys, this is a little bit NSFW, so maybe look away for this bit or close your ear holes. She was shoving the pieces of rabbit up there days before for publicity. What the... wow. That is mental. I mean, listen, people get a bad rep these days for, clout chasing and that sort of stuff. But hey, clearly, as this woman has shown, it's been around for a long time and people are willing to do many different things, including shoving rabbit parts in themselves to get famous. Very strange. Gedis and the Land of Tar. A few years ago, in 2017, comedian Nate Fernald posted a tweet of an enamel pin he'd bought of a familiar-looking friendly monster, with the word Gedis written under it. He was unable to find any information on what Gedis is, and the mystery took the internet by storm. The mystery kept growing as someone found a sticker of Gedis alongside other characters, all listed as the Land of Tar. The sticker sheet was from a company called Denison. There were no Google results at all for either Gedis or the Land of Tar. With multiple people researching, that was where the mystery was left, and people kind of forgot about it. But a couple of years later, it was solved. A a podcast was made where they investigated the mystery, got a hold of the former art director of Denison back in the 80s, who referred them to a few potential artists, and they found the daughter of one of the artists who'd passed away, and in her father's stuff was the original pencil drawings of the creatures of the Land of Tar. It was never anything but those stickers. This internet mystery still appeared on lists for a while as unsolved. The only mystery left is who made the enamel pins, which is still a mystery, but not quite as big as who is this character and this land that seems familiar but that there's no record of. That's a nice one actually, nice to get away from the ghoulish murder sort of side of unsolved or solved mysteries. Weird that someone would make a podcast all about an enamel pin, but hey, I guess that is the world of podcasts for you. Oh, and by the way guys, if you didn't already know, I actually upload these videos onto podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you'd rather listen to it on Spotify, you can go and check it out there. The link for that will be in the description below and the pinned comments. And if you are already listening to this on a podcast platform, then hey, you're a legend. The missing feet murders. For many years, human feet kept washing up on the shores near Seattle and Vancouver, two places I've been to actually. A total of 21 were found, oh my god. Naturally, people thought there was a murderer afoot, oh my god. Sorry, says OP, I don't know if I can forgive you for that one. And their modus operandi was to cut their victims' feet off before disposing of the body in the ocean. It turns out that many of the remains were deemed as a word I can't say for monetization reasons. It turns out when you jump off of one of the many bridges Seattle and Vancouver has to offer, your body decomposes and your limbs detach. The foam and floaty material in the victim's shoes ensured their feet would float and get caught in tidal currents, thus dispersing the detached feet nicely. Case closed. That is horrible. The Bermuda Triangle, Devil's Sea. A triangle-shaped section of ocean where airplanes and boats were known to disappear. Apparently, most stories were embellished, and there's so much traffic that goes through the area, it's actually a very small amount of vessels that go missing, percentage-wise. Yeah, you might be right, but I still wouldn't go through there, because, you know, the history, the stories, it's creepy, man. I want to survive. The Prophet Hen of Leeds. A hen was laying eggs with messages like, "Christ is coming," and people thought the world was ending. It turned out the farmer was actually writing on the eggs herself and then reinserting them back into the chicken. Okay, this is giving me flashbacks to a story read earlier about rabbits. This one slightly less weird, still weird though. I once lost my bank card the day I got it. 5 years later, upon moving out, I found it stuck to the bottom of a lamp. Okay, when this thread was posted on AskReddit, what are some solved mysteries? I didn't expect people to take it this literally. Yes, that's a solved mystery, but it's kind of boring, my dude. I'm sorry. Well, I guess I'm happy that you found your card, but come on. And there we go, guys. That is going to do it for this one. A really interesting thread with some great answers in there. The reason I even chose this in the first place is because I spend way too much of my life, as I'm sure some of you do, not all of you, but some of you, watching YouTube videos at ridiculous times, 4 a.m, about true crime, unsolved mysteries. You know, it's the sort of stuff that you just watch when you have nothing else to watch, and for some reason you know you shouldn't be watching them, but you just go down that rabbit hole of YouTube. Anyway, I thought, you know, for a change, let's have a look at some solved mysteries, some solved crimes that were maybe unsolved for a long time and, you know, have now been solved. And a couple of the ones in here, pretty amazing. I mean, the woman with the rabbit, let's leave her behind. Some other ones about the, you know, the feet just turning up out of nowhere, and that first one that I told you about, that crazy woman who allowed her son to kill his brother. Wow. I mean, that one is astonishing. It puts a whole new meaning on the words insane parent for sure. But yeah, let me know if you enjoyed this one. A little bit different than usual, of course. I've never really done anything like mysteries or murder mysteries in the past on my channel. But if you maybe want to see some unsolved mysteries in future, or maybe even solved mysteries, let me know. I'm happy to do that because I really enjoyed this video. I hope you did too. If you want something else like it, I can put another AskReddit video on screen. It's not as cool as this one, but you may still enjoy it. And if you are new to the channel, please do hit this button and subscribe for daily Reddit videos right here. You know what, guys? Drop me a like on this video. If this video gets 5,000 likes, which I know is a lot, let's drop it actually. 2,500 likes. Then I will do another one of these very soon, maybe with some solved, unsolved mysteries. Yeah, do that for me, and I'll do it again. Nice one.